good morning, just so you know. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's staff brief.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Robinson, the Chief Executive here at Sherwood Forest. Welcome to this week's staff brief. This week we're going to cover topics such as staff vaccinations, our people and wellbeing offer, and of course we're going to get an update on our Fitness for All progress, the weekly winners, and how far around the globe we've reached this week. And joining me this week, I've got Debbie Kearsley, Head of HR, Amy Gouldstone and Sarah Toft from the Wellbeing team, and Craig from the Quality Improvement team. So I'll just kick off with a sort of a general update. Whilst we remain busy on our hospital sites, we have seen that continued reduction in COVID positive patients, and indeed that's been really pleasing to see. However, transmission rates in our communities remain pretty high compared with the national average. So we remain at full vigilance in terms of transmission, both on site and off site. So please be vigilant. We're not through this. We still have a significant number of staff outbreaks on our hospital sites. We review our visiting arrangements as we go through the month of February, but it's unlikely we'll be changing those until we see the reduction in those outbreaks. Okay, so let's move on to staff vaccinations. So last week we had a conversation about how we were going to ensure that we complied with the national guidance and indeed the statutory requirement to ensure that we had staff all vaccinated by the 1st of April. But as probably everyone now knows, there's been a pause in that legislation, so that's not happening now. So I've got Debbie, who joined us last week to tell us how we are going to implement it. She's back with us to tell us how we are going to now implement what we know of the new guidance. So Debbie, over to you, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul, and good morning, everybody. And thank you for inviting me again today. So as you know, the government passed legislation back in January this year requiring the vaccination as a condition of deployment for staff working in CQC regulated activities. That piece of legislation was due to come into effect on the 1st of April, and so the timescales meant that individuals would have needed to have had their first vaccine by the 3rd of February, which is tomorrow, to enable them to have had their second vaccine by the 31st of March for the regulations to come into effect on the 1st of April. However, as you may have heard, on Monday, the Secretary of State announced that he was that this legislation was going to be revoked, but this is still subject to consultation, a public consultation, and a vote to be passed in Parliament. We attached a link of the letter to a recent communication that has been published, and that is all we have had as an organisation. So what we have decided to do as an organisation is, during this time while the public consultation is taking place and the legislation is passed through Parliament, is we will not be moving ahead with any formal conversations that were due to commence following tomorrow, following the 3rd of February. And with that in mind, we will also not be taking forward any terms of the processes, as I discussed last week, in terms of adjustments to roles, deployment into other roles, or serving notice to bring contracts to an end where individuals did not meet the legislation. Clearly, we're still waiting for national guidance to come out. As I said, this was only announced on Monday evening, so we're still waiting for national guidance to come out, and we will continue to communicate with colleagues as soon as we get any further communication centrally in relation to the next steps. I think the Secretary of State did announce a number of elements that he was going to write to, such as regulatory bodies, and look at the Department of Health and Social Care Code of Practice, etc. So we're just waiting for all that guidance to come through. As I say, we will be communicating that openly and transparently to the organisation once we get that guidance through. But just to reiterate that we will not be proceeding with any formal conversations as per the recent communications from last week's team brief and letters that have been issued to individuals.
Thanks, Debbie. That's really clear. Thank you. So if anyone has any further questions for Debbie, I'm going to cover off some questions that we've already received now, and some of them perhaps we've covered, but please post your questions in the chat if you have any questions, just generally or indeed for Debbie, and we'll cover them. I've already got a question about wearing face coverings and socially distancing in offices. That will continue on site. We will communicate any changes to those requirements if and when we have them, but for the foreseeable future we continue with those requirements. There's some questions that are in connection with working from home and any government assistance that might be available. So the government assistance, as someone has answered, is around that weekly tax relief for working from home. That's still in place as far as I know, although there is a comment that it's about to be revoked. But I haven't seen that. Debbie, have you seen anything around the tax relief for working from home changes? I've not come across anything in my networking.
No, I've not received any information regarding that suggestion.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And then one question again related to working from home around an inequality of the ability to do that. So yeah, we continue to urge people to work from home wherever they can. That obviously has to be commensurate with their job roles and also their ability to do so. So circumstances will change and be different in different roles and for different individuals. So line managers should be actively ensuring that their team members can work from home wherever possible. Please contact me directly if you've got any instances that you want to share around inequality, around how that is manifesting itself in your treatment, or indeed use the Trust's Freedom to Speak Up guardian, Kerry Bosworth, if you want to have a confidential conversation about that. Then there was a question about vaccinations and ability to work on wards. So Debbie, as you've updated, that guidance has now been revoked. There is now no requirement for staff to be vaccinated to work on site. However, we would encourage everyone, staff, family, friends and everyone in the community to obtain a vaccination, because it's the best way to obtain that protection. Okay, I think that's all the comments and questions so far, so keep them coming if you have any. So let's move on. So I'm going to hand over to Amy Gouldstone, who's our People and Wellbeing Lead. So Amy, do you want to take it away? Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Hi everyone. So as Paul says, I'm Amy Gouldstone. I'm the new People Wellbeing Lead at Sherwood Forest Hospital. I'm really excited to be back. Some of you might recognise me from another wellbeing role a few years ago, quite a few years ago now, I suppose 4 years ago. And I started my career in the NHS. Actually, I just realised that it's just over, I think around 10 years ago, as a dietetic assistant on an acute hospital in Birmingham. and sort of reflecting and thinking about what I was going to say to you all today, I just wanted to say I'm really, really pleased to be able to work specifically on our colleagues' wellbeing, bringing everything together that's already there and making sure it's really visible and accessible to everyone, so no matter where you work. So if you work on a ward, if you work from home, if you work in a clinic, if you work in one of the little offices that not many people know about, wellbeing, the wellbeing offer is available to everyone. And I'm here to basically enhance what we already have, perhaps put some new initiatives in where possible, some of which I'm going to show you in a second. I'm going to show you a few slides because there was so much information I thought I can't remember to say it all. Yeah, one of the projects I'll be working on is around our wellbeing strategy. So you might hear from me because wellbeing crosses so many departments. So you will certainly see my name, you'll see my emails, you'll see my face out and about as well. I'm really excited as well that we're going to be working really closely with quite a few departments, but particularly with our organisational development department and our quality improvement department on our wellbeing walkarounds. So you'll see people coming around to see you in your departments, and we're going to sort of upskill each other and make sure each of us are aware of all the things that are available, so that you kind of get one visit and you can ask questions around wellbeing, questions around development, and all sorts of and obviously quality improvement projects as well. So really excited about that. And if you're working on a project that you think crosses wellbeing or something you think I might not know about, please get in touch, and Charlotte can pop my email address in the box in a second. What have I missed? So I will just share these slides if I can, so bear with me. Everyone see that all right, I think. Yeah, a good nod from Paul. Thank you, Paul. It's very bizarre. All I can see is Paul's face at the moment. Yeah. Thank you, Paul. So there's so many projects and I don't even know where to start with telling you about what I'm up to, but one of the things I'm going to be starting ready for a launch in March is thinking about our wellbeing champions, and there's loads of wellbeing champions across our trust that do an incredible job still. Some of you will know about our Time to Change champions, for example, and basically I'm here to bring them all together to make sure they're connected as wellbeing champions and supported. I'll be sort of revamping some training support for any champions that have connections with wellbeing, making sure wellbeing champions are really visible. So you'll see some more things coming out in the communications, hopefully some videos and that sort of thing, and sort of being clear as well if our wellbeing champions have special interest topics. I'm hoping to get a clear understanding of what everyone's sort of area of specialty is, so we can direct people in. And there will be a wellbeing inbox that you'll be able to email into. I just don't quite have it live yet, so watch out for that coming. So wellbeing champions, if you are thinking you'd like to be a wellbeing champion, just get in touch with me by my email address at the moment and I can send you a bit more information. That's wellbeing champions. The other bits I wanted to sort of tell everyone about is you might remember Rob announced the hashtag SFH Wellbeing, which he stole my thunder slightly, did that just before I joined. But really wanted to re-up this really. This is an opportunity for you to tag a picture in social media with the hashtag SFH Wellbeing. If you haven't got social media and you want to email it in, the picture just needs to be something that you do that helps your wellbeing to really inspire our colleagues. And then there's a chance to win a £25 voucher. Each month there's a draw that you'll be entered. Random number will be picked to win that £25 voucher. So that's just to let you know about that one. And then of course I can't talk about wellbeing without sort of mentioning the offer of support. And I was completely blown away when I came back into the trust and sort of saw all the different steps that we've got around support, and one of the things that is available is a 24-hour phone line, but there's also really good resources from VivUp for our employee assistance programme as well as this phone line. These are sort of this is a shot of the website of all the different advice that you can get. So obviously there's telephone support, there's face-to-face counselling that they're doing back in the trust, there's all sorts of things on there. There's a My Mind app and the specific parent-child resources, which I've tapped into personally already, having a little girl. So just to let you know really that that's there, and it's not just a phone line, that there is extra information out there. I think Charlotte was going to pop the link in the chat as well. So I'd urge anyone to just follow that link and have a bit of a click around. There's even audio books that you can listen to for this support as well, and you can listen to them on your personal phone. You don't have to be connected to our intranet or system. So that's that bit. And then you might have heard of our Nottinghamshire Staff Support Hub phone line as well. Now, this is something you can ring if you're worried about yourself, or just you're feeling that you're in crisis or particularly worried, or it might not be that you're in crisis, just that you want to talk to someone in connection to perhaps mental health or your emotional health. You can also contact these guys as well if you're worried about a colleague or a family member. So that's one big difference, I suppose, between VivUp and this phone line. If you're worried about a family member and need some support as well, they're there 24/7, and they're there by email as well, which I think is always really handy if you don't want to speak over the phone. So I think Charlotte's going to pop the phone number on there in the chat. So one thing I would really urge you to do actually with that phone number is put it in your phone now, because you just never know when you might need to advise someone else what that phone number is, or use it yourself. Just so it's there and accessible for you. Feel like I'm rambling. So where are we? Exciting new initiative that starts tomorrow. The website should launch today, I believe, for our virtual mindfulness sessions. So you can join on a Tuesday or a Thursday. So the first one should be tomorrow at 12:30, and there's a link to join that I believe Charlotte will be putting in the chat as well. Apologies for filling the chat up with links. So this link will take you to a 15-minute drop-in with a trained mindfulness practitioner, and you can just hopefully sit there, zone out or zone in to being aware of your breath, of your body, of any sensations that you have and how you're feeling, to help you disconnect a little bit from work and have that little bit of peace for those 10 to 15 minutes as well. You don't need to book, you don't have to go every week, but you can just drop in, drop out of that. And then the same team actually offering some really good courses as well. So just to let you know about those, there's an email address there. This will all be obviously in the communications and the bulletin on the website, but yeah, just to put a shout out for all of these sessions that are completely new to our trust as well. And then finally, if you're really as passionate about wellbeing as I am, or even if you're not quite as passionate as I am, there are some sessions after Team Brief every week of February. Today we're going to do self-compassion, connecting, and bits of information on sleep, really in a way kind of informal, but with some interactive sections as well. So if you'd like to join us for a little bit more on wellbeing and to meet myself, Sarah and Corinne, a part of our wellbeing team as well, will be there. So that drop-in link will be the last link that Charlotte puts in for you today, if you haven't seen it already in the communications. So that is more than enough talking from me, and I haven't seen any questions yet, so I'll have a look in a second. But I'm really excited to announce that we also have our full-time, our permanent clinical psychologist for colleagues as well. So Dr. Sarah Toft is going to come on next and talk to you about her role. If I can introduce Sarah. Thank you.
Hi, thanks Amy. Yeah, so I'm Sarah Toft, clinical psychologist for staff wellbeing. So my role is very different from Amy's, but I'm going to be working with Amy. So my focus is on mental health and psychological wellbeing for staff and colleagues across the trust, and that's quite a broad remit. And as we know, sometimes what we experience at work can affect our mood, and sometimes our mood can affect our performance at work, and it might be that we've got an existing mental health difficulty, or we've got stress at home that means that when we get to work we're just full already and we're finding things difficult. So part of my role is to consider how we can help support staff who are experiencing those difficulties, and that's through a number of different ways, by working with team leads and ward managers and supporting them to recognise and respond to colleagues that are in distress. It might also be working on a one-to-one basis with staff who are experiencing psychological difficulties, whether that's anxiety, stress, trauma, and so on. or working in particular areas that have perhaps had a difficult experience or traumatic incident on the ward or in ED or whatever, to help to support those areas and to think how staff might feel and how they might respond and how they can cope with those situations. Also happy to look at reflective practice sessions, so if there's a particular difficulty in an area or people just want to reflect on how things have been over the last few months and celebrate the positives as well as what's not been so good, and more than happy to sort of come and meet with you and discuss what might help. So it's a broad remit, but it's basically looking at psychological issues and mental health, however that affects colleagues and ourselves. And it's also thinking about, yes, that we're talking about staff wellbeing in colleagues, but it's also managers as well. So keen for anyone to sort of get in touch. If you can email me, or if email would be the best. So Charlotte can put my email in the chat, that would be really helpful. But yeah, anything psychology, mental health, that's me. That's about it. I'll pass you back.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Amy. Really exciting that you're both on board and available to support, excuse me, teams and individuals and anyone who in need, and there's lots of signposting that you've already gone through there, and there's lots in the chat as well. So please review the chat. There's links in there, there's numbers in there, there's contact details in there. So really good. There's the drop-in sessions that start at 12:15 today and will continue throughout February. And then a really good tip from Amy, that staff support hub number, put that in your phone. You never know when you need it, and when you need it, you won't be able to find the number. That is that is certain. So get that in. Maybe Charlotte, you could remind again by putting it in the chat, the number, the 0808 number there for the staff support hub. That'd be great. So thank you both for that. Perhaps when we get through February and you've tested out these Wednesday wellbeing sessions, we can have a catch up on what you've learned from that and how we might be going forward and supporting staff some more. So look forward to seeing you again soon on the staff brief. Can't see any other questions that I need to pick up just now. So please keep questions coming in as I hand over to Craig, who's going to give us our weekly update on our Fitness for All campaign. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Paul. Morning, everybody. Just bear with me while I try and share my slides. 1 second. Hopefully you can see those now. So here we are. We've finished the Fitness for All challenge at 100 yesterday, the last day of January. So this morning I'm going to take you through who won the week 4 challenge, but also I'll be announcing who won the overall challenge as well. So just a bit of background before I move on to that. So as I say, it ran throughout January. We asked you to record both your physical exercise, but this time the minutes, sorry, and then equally we asked you to record the distance travelled as well, because some of the prizes were judged by who'd gone the furthest. And we awarded a weekly recognition prize for each division that won that particular week, but also there is a trophy that is currently held by Women's and Children's following them winning the original challenge we did back in July. We still ask people to share their efforts on the Sherwood Forest virtual exercise group on Facebook, which allows you to seek encouragement from your peers. Now, this time we managed to attract or welcome another 72 members to that Facebook group, which was a 17% increase, which was fantastic. Lots more people getting out there during the horrible month that is January weather-wise, etc., and sharing what they've done. And that took us over the 500 mark, which is really, really good. It's around about 10% of our whole workforce, I think, which is a really, really encouraging, really good of people that they're engaging with that. So just a quick recap. So week 1, we looked at awarding the prize to the division that accrued the most amount of minutes, and that was corporate for week 1. In week 2, we awarded that prize to the division who exercised and accumulated the most meters of walking minutes, and that was Women's and Children's. For week 3, we saw the prize awarded to the division who accumulated the most meters generally whilst exercising, and again that was women's and children's as a theme developing here, I think. And then for week 4, so the last week, we're going to award the prize to the division who showed the greatest amount of increase in the number of minutes exercised in week 4 compared to week 1. So how much what percentage did they increase their exercise by? And the winner, or the division who did that, was surgery, which is fantastic. So they increased their exercise by just over 50%. Second was women's and children's, who again still increased theirs. I don't know how they keep doing that, but they do. And then we won't talk about any of the others because we all did slightly less, but that may be a little bit of fatigue given what January's been like for everybody, but still a monumental effort, and well done to surgery for that. You will get the prize. Whilst we're on the subject of the prize, there has been a little hiccup in terms of me sourcing the prize that we're going to be giving out for each of the weeks. It will come. I'm just working through that at the moment, so I haven't forgotten. I know there was a question last week in the chat. I am still working on it, and we will get your prizes to you because you deserve them for all the effort that you've put in. So moving on, so let's talk about who's won the overall result. So the winner for the January version of the challenge is Women and Children's, and they did just shy of 45,000 minutes of exercise for the month of January. So I'd like to say it was close, but it wasn't particularly close in the end. It was close probably until about the end of week 1, and then Women's and Children's just, I keep using the word juggernaut, which they seem to like me using, but they have been a juggernaut for the whole of January. They have just kept going and going and going, and everybody has been chasing them. So still massive shout out to everybody else who has put the effort in. Really, really appreciate it. We've kind of been discussing on Facebook what we need to do as other divisions in terms to catch them, especially given I think they've only got around 600 members of staff, and some of the other divisions, including corporate, have got over 1,000. So they're obviously doing something right. So we need to try and speak to them and find out what the secret is. So let's just talk a little bit about achievements. So for the month, we recorded 134,000 minutes across over 2,200 physical activities, which works out just over 93 days of exercise we all did when you add it all together. The most popular exercise type was walking, so we did a lot of walking, and the most popular day to go out was a Monday, which probably makes sense because it was the start of each weekly challenge. In the Facebook group, we had just under 500 posts across the month, which was an average of 17 per day, and over the last 3 months that had only been 3 per day. So good to see people have been using that to share what they're doing and gain that encouragement. A little bit of an overview of who kind of contributed the most. Women's and Children's contributed a third of all the distance that we've travelled over the month. Ourselves in corporate were about a quarter. And then activities wise, Women's and Children's again, about 750 activities. Corporate was 629, medicine 282. So we do need to find a way of maybe all grouping together and taking on Women's and Children's and whatever we decide to do next, because it looks like we will probably do about the same amount combined compared to what they do. So the Facebook group's had some really good feedback from people, so I'll just pick a couple of these out. Not really got my mojo back at the moment, and I've been admiring from afar, but thanks to person A and person B, they got me out as they walked past my house on their Sunday training. Thanks guys, enjoyed it and feel much better for it, so I guess I'll log. So that's good. People knocking on doors and dragging people out of houses just to get them exercising during January, which is fantastic. And then another one, hello from the snowy mountains of France. So somebody went skiing, which was amazing. Just shows the dedication. So what's the competition this week, and do we know who won last week? I know it's not all about women winning, but it is motivating. So yeah, so good. Everybody, sharing what they're doing. Just a couple of examples. And then this one for you, Paul, as we know you love this. So if we'd have kept going on our kind of trajectory, we would have been in the middle of the Pacific, and I didn't really think it'd be fitting just to drop us into the middle of the Pacific. So in terms of total distance, we actually made it as far as Manila in the Philippines, which the equator I think is about 45,000 kilometers in total if you go all the way around the Earth. So we made a quarter of the equator, which still is fantastic. And I'm sure if we did this again in the summer, we might get a little bit further. We might, because I know we did slightly less exercise in total, understandably, given the weather and stuff. And then just finally, so what's next? So I'm going to ask, last time I asked for some feedback about how we can improve it, and I'll do the same again. I'll send a survey around to people. And then next challenge. So we've discussed, there's a lot of wellbeing events going on and climate events going on in June. So we're thinking about doing the next challenge in June, trust-wide, but also we've already kind of started discussions around doing a wider ICS challenge. So we'll take on our ICS colleagues at NUH, Notts Healthcare, etc., and see if we can club together as a trust and see how, whether we can beat some of those bigger trusts around us. And then the other thing we're looking at the moment is Couch to 5K. So some people have asked whether the trust could possibly run some Couch to 5K sessions to get people running. And so we're currently exploring the feasibility of running those sessions at the trust for colleagues, and we'll share some more information about that when we're in a position to do so. And then finally from me is just a massive thank you. So people have been saying lots of nice things to me about running this. It doesn't take a massive amount of effort, and it makes it really, really, really worthwhile for me. I take great pride in doing it, seeing that people are getting out and exercising, and it's making a difference to people, because they're clearly, some of the comments do show that it helps getting out, getting on your feet, doing some exercise really does help your mental health, obviously, as well as your physical health. So thank you for bearing with me and putting up with me for the last 4 weeks on Staff Brief. It's been nice, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you all soon. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Craig. Well, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you, Craig, not coming on these every week. So yeah, I've really looked forward to hearing progress each week, and well done to Surgery for being the weekly winners, and obviously to the juggernaut that is Women's and Children's Division for the overall winners. Lots of positive feedback in the chat, including someone who said that Craig's helped this person lose a stone in weight. So great that we've encouraged people to get involved, and lots of conversations around that. And what's next? So what challenge can you issue for us next, Craig? And you've discussed how you might be continuing this. So that's great. I look forward to seeing how that develops and getting involved. So thank you for that, Craig. I can't leave it without thinking about Manila, and it's a quarter of the world in 30 days, I think, is probably that. So that's probably not the snappiest title for a book.
No.
We'll have to find a different way to a different challenge that is that we can talk about in the future. So I look forward to having you back then, Craig. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
So just lastly, we'll turn back to the chat. We've got lots of comments, as I've said, in support of Women's and Children's and Surgery, and of Craig, and indeed of the Fitness for All challenge that we want to continue with in some form. We've got one question directly for you, Debbie, I think. So just to confirm, what is the plan now with any staff who remain unvaccinated?
Thanks, Paul. So those staff who remain unvaccinated, as I said, the Secretary of State for Health announced on Monday the VCOD legislation, the vaccination as a deployment condition of deployment, is to be revoked, subject to this being passed by Parliament and a public consultation. So those who remain unvaccinated, we'd previously written out to individuals to say that we were going to commence formal discussions following the 3rd of February, which was the date in which the first vaccine must have been administered. So we are not proposing to proceed with those formal discussions with staff. And once we have further national guidance that comes out to clarify what the next steps are, then we'll be open and transparent with our colleagues, and we'll communicate that through our recruitment channels and also to the divisional management teams, and send out communications. And we are in the process of updating our intranet page with updated FAQs in relation to this change in legislation and policy.
Thank you. That's really clear. A couple of things, just mopping up some things that we've already covered as well. There's a comment in the chat from someone who considers that actually there's a health and well-being benefit that they've enjoyed from working from home. So perhaps it's not all about the increase in bills. That was the comment earlier. And just to pick up on the comment earlier about the tax rebate that's on offer, that is under review, and I understand the bit that's under review isn't that there is a tax rebate for working from home. It's the offer that regardless of the amount of days worked from home, the tax rebate was actually applied in the last couple of years as though you worked every day from home. And I think that's what's under review or likely to change, not the fact that there is a tax rebate, it's the extent to which it applies to days that you worked from home and worked on site. So obviously there's more to come on that. There was a further comment about the number of staff within each division, and perhaps we need to consider that in future challenges, Craig. So I'll leave that with you. Using that as the measure, though, I think women's and children's would win by an even greater amount.
Yeah. Let's not poke the hornet's nest. Let's not do that.
Yeah. It might be something that isn't broken as much as we think it is, so it doesn't need fixing. But we can leave that with you, Craig, to consider.
Thank you. Thanks.
And I think that covers off all the questions and comments. My last comment, and someone's prompted me in the chat, is that we're finishing before 12:15, so that gives everyone ample time to jump across to the wellbeing drop-in session at 12:15. So please do so. And with that, I'll draw us to a close. Thanks to Debbie, Amy, Sarah, and Craig. And obviously Charlotte, who's helping us out here with my comm support. So thanks to you all for joining us. Thanks to everyone joining the staff brief this week. Hope you have a good week, and see you again next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.